Alright, the next thing we're going to need is a 2.5 by 2.5 sheet of B&T Duo paper. And when I made my card, I stamped the "You're Invited" on the corner. And the first time I did it, I left this corner place blank. But when I did it the next time, I filled it in. I just changed the positioning of the words, and I actually prefer this. So I'm going to do that again on here. Now, one thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to only stamp one of the words. So I'm going to stamp "your" first to make sure I have it on the right side. And so I'm going to place this on the block, and then I'm going to push this out of the way. Which, again, this is something nice that you can do acrylics you can't really do with other stamps. So I'm going to use the Indian Corn Blue. And I just did direct to paper. I just rubbed. What I have. Now I'm ready to layer these pieces. So I have this piece that we distressed heavily, and now I'm going to adhere it with some mono adhesive. Place it, thinking like right about here. Now you'll notice that this paper covers up the words, and that's okay because I'm going to distress it more with my fingernails. I'm going to rip and tear and roll so that what I want to show shows. In fact, I might actually tear just a little bit of this off. And you need to roll it. If you're going to roll it by the words, you should roll it by the other corners too, so it looks intentional and not just a mistake. Got that done. And now what I want to do is I want to place this, but I'm going to pop it with some pop dots, or in this case foam tape. And then, let me see if I do this backwards. Now I'm going to pop this in the center. Okay? When we get this ready to go on our card, then this will go right there. So we'll put that out to the side. Alright, so to assemble the card, we need the Colonial White, and I need it to be 5.5 by 8.5, and we're going to fold it in half. You certainly could score it, but sometimes I just have better luck just folding it in half and then using my bone folder to press it down. Okay, looks good. Now, one thing I need to do is I do need to emboss the lines. You could use a score pal, though I haven't added that to my collection yet. I'm just going to use a stylus like this here, along with my trimmer to score. Now you have to do this from the inside of the card because you want the impression to be upwards on the outside, so it'll look like this. I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay, and I'm going to do that every 1/2 inch outward. Okay, so I will fast forward through this so you don't have to watch it in slow-mo, but again, I'm just moving it over every 1/2 inch. Okay, now I have embossed the front side of the card. dry emboss the front side of the card. And notice how I have my embossing line here and my embossing line here, so it's pretty centered. That's why it's good to find the center point and then emboss outwards. That way it's more even. Okay? Alright, so now that I've done that, I am going to stamp. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my paper because that'll give me a good starting point. And this will make sense in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and lay the B&T pattern paper on there. So and if you have just any little raggedy edges, a really easy tip is to take your sanding block, and that kind of helps even that out a little bit. Okay? Alright, so now I have that, and then I'm going to use my stamp, this one here. This is also out of that Ticket to Ride, and I'm going to use VersaMark again. And I'm going to stamp in between the embossed images. And the reason I wanted to put that paper down first is this way it will help me keep it lined up. Okay, the next thing I want to do, I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and then I'm going to end up inking it. But while I'm waiting for that to dry, I am going to get my last sheet of pattern paper here, and I'm going to sponge this, and I'm going to use bamboo. So what I want to do now is I want to ink up the edges. You already inked this, so I don't need to worry about when I put it down inking around the edges. One thing I do want to do, however, is just take this and lightly go over it, because what I'm trying to do is get those ridges to pick up some color. Now if your VersaMark is still damp, it's going to pick up the color as well. And if you don't want your VersaMark to pick up the color, or don't want to risk it picking up color, then ink it before you stamp the little argyle pattern on there. Okay. One thing I did with the editing that you didn't see was that I went to put on the strip of paper and realized that this color there was just a lot of color here that I didn't want to have hidden. So I did turn this piece around. I'm going to go ahead and put this piece on. I have adhered to the back, the end of the ribbon, and I'm going to adhere it all down with the exception of this little corner, because I want to, or the edge, excuse me, I want to bring this around. This piece, I did put some adhesive right here, and I'm going to tuck this ribbon behind and flatten it. And the reason I didn't put adhesive all the way behind it is because I want to tie the ribbon underneath there. And I wanted to, you know, obviously not have any adhesive there while I tie it. Alright, so I have that part done. And then I want to go ahead now and I'm going to put my brads while I'm thinking about it here. of the card, and I think it turned out a little nicer than the first one I did. Okay? Alright, if you have any questions, let me know. Until next time, see you later.